Hello everybody. Is this thing? Yes, it is on. My name is Patrick Mulleroni. I'm the medical director of the sports medicine program at Johns Hopkins All Children's. I'm also the medical director of health services at IMG Academy. I spend the whole fall, like you guys, involved in football. As a physician on the sidelines on Friday nights at Friday night football games, but much like all of you as well, I love the game. I'm a coach. I'm a bandit coach. I coach my own son in tackle football, and I'm not afraid of tackle football, even though I've seen 3,000 concussions in my clinic. What has been said about this game, the most popular game in our country, in high school, 1.1 million kids play tackle football. The next closest sport after that is track and field at 700,000. So we are the coaches of the biggest sport in the country. And it's at this level where the kids learn to play the game. One of the problems at this level with the game is that most people say, or many people say, who don't trust what we're doing with the kids, is that you shouldn't be letting them hit. They're too young. These hits are bad for kids who are too young, and there's just not data out there that says that tackle football is bad or that we shouldn't be playing. But it's a lot different game than when all of us played. We all are here because we played and we love the game. And the game has changed. And we need to move with the game and teach the kids how to play a lot better. We like big hits. Everybody likes big hits. Big hits are part of the game. But those big hits should not be with the helmet. They should not be head-to-head hits. Those head-to-head hits are what are causing problems for our kids. And we're not sure whether all the stuff going on with the NFL players and ex-NFL players who have this thing called CTE, chronic traumatic encephalopathy, has been caused by hits to the head at all, too many hits to the head, too many concussions, these hits that don't cause concussion but are a bunch of hits. We just don't know that information right now. What we do know is that concussion is something that happens to the brain when you're hit either to the head or to the body, and the body's not ready for it, and the brain moves. Most of the concussions I see are caused by hits to the ear hole. They're hits to the side of the head that causes that swinging motion. We know from other sports, taekwondo, boxing, that it's the hook that causes that concussion most often, because us humans, our eyes are in the front of our head. So we're made to take energy from the front of our head and dissipate that energy in this manner. We're not meant to take energy from the side of the head. Think about it. If I've got a lion that's running after me, okay, I'm out and a lion comes after me. What am I going to do? I'm either going to fight or I'm going to flight. But I'm not going to run a post route and have him hit me from the ear hole. It's not going to happen. So it's those hits from the side of the body, those hits when the player's running out of bounds and he takes another helmet to the side of the head, that are most likely to cause concussion. What we're doing about concussion today is what allows me to go to bed at night, put my head on the pillow, and have a clear conscience that I've put over 3,000 kids back playing sports. We are not letting kids play with concussion, period. So if one of your players gets hit in the thigh and they've got a bad thigh contusion, bad bruise in the thigh, and they're hurt and it hurts, and they can still run and still play, I'm not going to tell you that you're not a good coach or not a good parent for letting that kid go back out and play. There are kids that have sprained their ankle and still are a little bit ginger on their ankle, but they still go and play. When it comes to a hit to the head, if an athlete has a headache, if an athlete is acting abnormal, if an athlete is crying and they're not a crier, if they look dizzy, you don't put that athlete back in. When in doubt, sit them out. It's easy. Now that sucks when it's your middle linebacker, when it's your running back, when it's your quarterback. It's not good. It's not good for the girl cheerleaders when that's your best stunter and they're in the middle of your lineup and they've been dropped and now they have maybe a little bit of a headache and the routine's over because they can't be part of it. But what we're here for, why we volunteer our time, is for the development of these children. Yes, it's great to win championships. It's wonderful. Yes, it's great to be part of the group. I see all you guys coming in here smacking high fives and loving being part of this organization and being part of the coaching fraternity. It's wonderful. But the reason why we're here is for the kids. And we need to make sure that this game stays around for a long time. Very soon you guys are going to be sitting in the heat, teaching these kids how to run, teaching these kids how to move their feet. You're going to be out there 3-4 nights a week coaching them, Saturday mornings, Saturday nights. You're going to be watching film, some of you. It's a lot of dedication that you give to these kids, and it's great for them. But when it comes to concussion, that's just not something that we can play with. So what's it look like? And what it typically looks like is a hit someplace, usually an ear hole. Kid comes up, they might be slow to come up, they come up, they're grabbing their head. Our kids aren't like these kids that are playing World Cup soccer who are gonna dive and lay down on the ground. Our kids pop right back up. But you'll see the kid maybe go to the wrong huddle, go in the wrong direction. A kid that you know that plays really well and you call a defensive stunt and they don't do it because they don't know what it is, because they're confused, that's a player you pull off the field. Now I know this is very hard, and I would hope that for all of you guys, you can designate a coach that's, hey, one of your assistant coaches is who deals with injured players, or the team mom deals with injured players. Because the second that player comes off, the head coach, the defensive coordinator, has got to be back concentrating on the game because the game's going on. But I need another coach on your staff that you talked about ahead of time who's going to look after injured kids, whether it's an ankle, a knee, or a concussion. And if that kid is complaining of a headache, ever, they're not going back in that game. If they're complaining of dizziness after a hit, they're not going back in that game. If they look like they're dizzy or you have any doubt, don't put them back in that game. Of the 3,000 kids that I've taken care of, I've returned 2,990 plus back to play sports. Which ones have I retired? The kids that I have not been able to put back in are the kids that have taken multiple hits. The high school kid that comes to me after game 9 and he says, listen, Doc, after second game of the season, that Friday night, I had horrible headaches. I had headaches all the way through the weekend. I made it through class on Monday with a really bad headache. Started feeling a little bit better Tuesday at practice. Wednesday, I felt a lot better. Thursday, with walkthroughs, I felt a lot better. First quarter, halfway through the first quarter, a couple head-to-head contacts, and boom, headache comes back. I felt terrible again. And the same thing goes on week after week. I've got one kid that can't bag at Publix. I got another kid that had to pull out of the culinary academy near us that just didn't graduate from high school because they had to retire because of repeated concussions. So it's yes, concussion is a bad thing, but most kids resolve completely. And when they do resolve, you put them back out and let them play. Not the same day. If you question that one of your players has a concussion, if they complain of headache, if they look dizzy, if they're wobbling around on the field, if they've gotten their bell rung, which we don't use anymore, that kid comes out and I'm sorry, but he can't play again. You've got to win with the other players on your team, because if that kid takes another hit, that's where I think that problem comes in. It's that second hit, third hit on the concussed brain where all these problems are coming in. I'm hoping that what we're doing is right now, and that when we're returning athletes back to the field, by letting them completely resolve, we're going to get rid of all these problems that are happening in the NFL, because the brain is then ready to sustain more contact. So what do? First thing, you identify a concussion. You take the kid's helmet away. You have that extra coach or that team mom that's just going to make sure that that kid doesn't get back in. If you've made the decision that that player has what you think may be a concussion, they don't go back in the game that day. They don't. Then you need to send them to their doctor. They can see their pediatrician. They can be seen by a sports medicine doctor. But if they're having vomiting, if they've lost consciousness, if they're not making sense and they don't have a memory right then, you need to send them to the emergency room. Not every kid with a concussion needs to go to an emergency room if they can be observed. But they have to be observed for the next 4 hours. So you have to identify the parent and say, look, I think your son's got a concussion. You need to be with him for the next 4 hours. If he starts vomiting, acting weird, if he's getting worse, you got to go to the emergency room. What do we do then? In my sports medicine clinic at Johns Hopkins All Children's, we see the kids Monday morning. We have Monday morning walk-in. We get kids in the next day because concussion needs to be seen soon and quickly. We get them in quickly, and then we evaluate them, identify it, and then deal with school. Because kids who have concussions should not be going to school. They should be out of school for the first couple days until the brain's back where it needs to be. This world is way different now, guys. All of us have cell phones. All of us have, have computers that we're looking at. We're looking at screens all day long. That is the worst thing for a kid with concussion. If I was to make a concussion worse, there'd be 2 things I'd do. One, I'd hand a kid a cell phone and have them look at Instagram or at Twitter or any of those things where they're moving their finger across and moving their eyes very fast. That rapid eye movement causes worsening concussion symptoms. The second one is video games, especially first-person video games, because concussion causes dizziness problems. And when you play these first-person video games where you're looking at the screen but the character's doing this, that causes balance problems as well. So get them off the screens, get them off their phone, keep them out of school, have them see their doctor. 85 to 90% of athletes in high school, and our kids are faster to resolve, but in high school are getting back to the field within 7 to 10 days. We do a return to play protocol And usually it takes about 5 days once they've cleared to get them back on the field. So if a child is diagnosed with a concussion, most likely, unless their symptoms are completely better the next day, they're going to miss the next week's game. That's the safe thing to do. That's tough when that's your quarterback or linebacker, but you have to remember the reason why you're here. When we're not in the heat of things right now, we're here because we're supporting little boys and little girls and trying to make them men and women. And that's one of the things you dedicate your time to, and we need to bring their brains there as well. Because most of the kids in the SYFC are not going to go play NFL football. But they may go to college with football. They're definitely going to learn about how to play as a team. They're going to learn a lot about their community, about their teammates, and it's going to help them grow, and that's why I coach football. That's why my son plays football. With regards to cheerleaders and cheer coaches, concussions happen more often in practice. It's the only sport where it happens more often in practice. Please make sure your spots know what they're doing. We can have catastrophic injuries in cheerleading with stunting. It's very, very dangerous. Please make sure your back spots know what they're doing, and if a girl does get hit, they have a lot of pressure, especially during competition season, to be back out there. Because if they're pulled out of their competition squad, the squad can't win, because they don't have a stand-in. So it's a ton of pressure on them, so a lot of them will lie. More so than any of my other sports, my cheerleaders will lie about their concussion symptoms because they know what's going to happen to their competition team. Watch for that. Watch for that with your girls who are suffering from headaches. Okay? It's never normal to have a headache after having a hit to the head, ever. If you have a headache, that's probably a concussion. If I was to change one thing with regards to practice for football, yes, we have to hit in practice. Yes, we have to learn to tackle in practice. The two things I don't love to see is Oklahoma drill every day, where we're taking head-to-head contact over and over again. I'm not a big fan of Oklahoma drill. Yes, do coaches still use it? Yes. Are you guys going to use it this year? Yes. But it needs to be limited. The second thing where I see most of the big problems is in kickoff and punt. Kickoffs and punts are dangerous. And that training during practice is even more dangerous. All of you can think about the hits, the smacks that you see on your field when we're learning to do kickoff and punt coverage. Please make those things non-contact. We do not need to be hitting at full speed with kickoffs and punts in practice. The boys know how to hit. They know how to open field tackle. That's one area where I see a lot of concussions happening, a lot of kids getting injured, and a lot of huge hits that are just not necessary. The most important thing we need to do is protect the kids. When in doubt, sit them out. You pull them off the field, you're going to ask them questions, you're going to ask about their balance. The things I would do on the side of the field, and I'll get off here soon, first thing I do is I put them in a tandem stance, one foot in front of the other like this, hands on the hips, eyes closed, and see if they can hold their balance. If you want, during preseason, when you get your kids in a circle, they're all stretching out, put them all in tandem stance with their helmets on when they're not hurt. Have them close their eyes. Look at how well our athletes can hold their balance for 10 seconds, 15 seconds. A kid with a concussion, you're going to put them into that position and they're going to come right off. But if you've done that before the season and know that all your boys can do this, then if it happens on the sidelines and they're falling over, you know that that's a balance problem, likely concussion. Second thing, ask questions. What quarter are we in? Why did I pull you out? What play is it? What's the score? If you ask those questions about the immediate situation, you might be shocked with a kid that looks normal who has no idea what half it is, what quarter it is, or why you pulled them out. If they're confused, if they have balance problems, if they have headaches, pull them out. And when in doubt, sit them out. I love this game. I hope our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren play this game. This game's under attack. Because a lot of people come to me and they say, I cannot believe you let your child play tackle football. I let my child play tackle football because I love the game, he loves the game, and it's great for him, it's great for our family. He gets to meet people like you, he gets to have great coaches, he gets to have great teammates. And I'm going to continue to support it. If you do have a child that has a concussion, I'm happy to see them. They can also go to their pediatrician. I am not here to gain business. We are busy enough. But if we can help you out at Johns Hopkins, I'm happy to. There's also Morton Plant Meese has a sports medicine program that sees patients up here in the North County. And in addition, I've educated the pediatricians in the area, and they know what to do as well. So if the child has a concussion, don't put them back in the game. Tell the parent what's going on. Make sure they're watched for 4 hours. If they're getting worse, they go to the emergency room. They need to see their doctor before you let them back on the field. Expect that they're going to miss the next game as well. Thank you very much.